What's your name?
Lindsay. Lindsay from San Francisco. I'm here because, everybody belongs in this country. It doesn't matter. It started with immigrants. We're all one person. This is the only country that we know. And, it's all about love. And right now we're in a country that's just hateful and it's dangerous to live here. And I want to feel comfortable to live here. I want to feel like my friends are comfortable to live here. My friends are afraid because they don't want to go home. They don't want to go to a place that they've really never lived. They've lived here their whole life. And this is a place that, is made on freedom. It's made on equality, and I'm here to stand up for that. I'm one of the main believers in equality.
And Trump says, well, the Congress should deal with this.
Yeah, well, he's a leader, and he's somebody that I would have never voted for, and now people are realizing how big of a mistake they made, and he's going to see that he's really a puppet. He's a puppet, and he doesn't know. He's just trying to undo everything that Obama did, and I really wish that I had a leader that I could believe in and that I was inspired by.
And NAFTA, the effect of NAFTA was to force people out of Mexico to come to this country. These trade agreements, have they had an effect on driving people out of their homes?
What was that?
NAFTA. How NAFTA privatized the land in Mexico, forced people to immigrate because they had no jobs.
Exactly. Where are we supposed to stay? Where are we supposed to go? This is our home. And, at the end of the day, this is the home where we're all supposed to be together and united as one. And that was his goal, right? He wanted us to feel united, but he's done nothing but split us. And in different countries, if they're forcing them to come here, why don't we have a home for them?
And there are millions of immigrants. So many marched in 2006. It seems like he's uniting the entire population.
Exactly, and he's making us all come together in a way that he didn't think was going to happen. He thought it was going to do the opposite, and we're showing him whose home this really is, and it's not his.
Okay. And do you go to school?
Yeah, I go to San Francisco State.
And how many Dreamers are there at San Francisco State? Is there,
I don't have an exact number, but I'd have to say it's a ton. A lot of my friends here are part of it, and I really wish that, they were comfortable enough to feel safe in their own home.
And what do you study at San Francisco State?
I'm a cinema major.
Cinema major?
Yeah.
There's so many stories here.
Exactly. I'm ready to tell them. I'm ready.
The lives of people.
Yeah, I know. It's a ton of people, and it's going to get even bigger. And he can't stop us. As you can see, there's a ton of people here ready and united to speak our minds. I'm not cowering down from him. I won't.
Well, ever since it came out, I have undocumented family members, and they've done nothing but succeed and make this country what it is now.
What does it say about this country? It was built by immigrants, that they're targeting immigrants who are the ones that built this country.
That they don't know what they're talking about.
You're not going to be intimidated by Trump?
I'm not scared of him or nobody else. I'm not.
Talk about why you're here today. What's your name?
My name. Who are you guys with?
KPFA.
My name is Marcus Pacheco with. I actually work at La Rastento Legal, and we represent a lot of DACA clients, and so we're here just supporting the cause, supporting the Dreamers, and just letting them know that we're here standing with them despite the fact that the administration made this decision.
Do you think they're trying to terrorize people and make them fearful?
Do I think that the Trump administration is trying to? Of course. I think that that's the biggest thing. They just want everybody to give up on the reason why they came to the country and to go back to their country. I think that's really one of the main taglines that I've noticed when it comes to people who oppose programs like DACA. So.
And you think the Dreamers and the young people who are faced with this attack are just going to give up and go away?
No, I don't think so. They've been living here their entire lives. They're good kids. They've gone through a very tough and rigorous process in order to obtain DACA. They're not kids with records. They're good kids. They're working hard, and they want to live in a country where they've grown up in. And no, they're not going to give up that easily and just leave.
My name's Grace Hunter, and I'm a garden educator at Commodore Sloat Elementary. What DACA means to me is beautiful minds being able to grow in the American education system. And I think anyone who would not fight for that or defend that should not be near education.
And is this causing a trauma in education among young people, young immigrant kids and their families?
I can't speak on behalf of those kids and what they're going through, but I think that it's certainly causing trauma in marginalized communities, and I think that it's just abhorrent.
Hi, my name's Susan Schweik, and I'm a professor at UC Berkeley, where I'm very proud that we have an undocumented students program and an active commitment to supporting undocumented students as they go through this assault. We all teach undocumented students. There are students we don't know are undocumented all around us. One thing I really do know is that the problems that we're facing require really gifted, responsible, educated people. Undocumented students are in that group. DACA students are in that group. And to start with, we're hurting ourselves very badly if we deprive the world and this nation of those people, those responsible, educated, and righteous people who are working in this country. The other thing is, as a professor, the betrayal involved here, the psychological betrayal, shocks me. To have told people, to have encouraged people to have come forward and put themselves at risk now because of federal policy, because of policy of people in power. The degree of psychological unsettlement and trauma is horrible to think about. And I just hope that this plaza fills up like no other demonstration that's ever happened in this city before. It's traumatic, it's unspeakable, it's cruel, it's irrational.
In the history of the United States, I mean, backlash, scapegoating of immigrants, I mean, blaming immigrants for the economic, social crisis. Do you think there's going to be a backlash to that in this country? I mean, blaming immigrants, minorities, I mean, Asians. I mean, it seems like
there is a backlash throughout this country, and it's so sad and mistaken. It's mistaken in the state in terms of the labor force, and I know it's mistaken about the students who I teach.
And at the university, how many students are there that are DACA, do you know?
I do not know, but enough so that there is a very active office that supports undocumented students at Berkeley, and I'm very glad of it. I just saw today a major foundation grant for graduate students, I can't remember which it was, that gives graduate students research grants, came forward and said they will continue to do it for undocumented students, and they understand the value of that work and of those people.
My name is Leticia Rojas. I'm here to support DACA. I'm against it. I don't support what the president is doing. It's unfair. It's cruel to what he's doing. A lot of them are immigrants. They come here for a better future, to provide a better future for their children, and sending them back to countries that they don't even know. It's horrible. I'm a child of an immigrant. I was born here. Fortunately, I'm not going to be deported, or I don't fear this. But I know people, and people that have relatives. I have relatives that will be affected by this, and this hurts me.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are Local 2 members.
And why is Local 2 here today?
Well, we are
What's your name?
My name is Arturo, and I work for Tab Italy. And we united here. We're here because we are supporting what they're doing to these junkies about the DACA program.
They lied?
Yeah, because they're doing wrong. Yeah, whatever they do with them, that's wrong. I mean.
And what do you think the union should do about it? What should the unions do about it?
Well, the union is support the whole community because we are together. We are like a family. So that's what we're doing.
My name is Matthew Stewart. I work for Unite Here Local 2.
And you're here today. How are your members being affected by this DACA and the kind of attack, scapegoating of immigrants?
Well, the whole country and everybody of consciousness is being affected by this. Dreamers, all immigrants are important to America. The biggest thing for me is that a big lie is being told that immigrants somehow are a problem for America, but immigrants are good for America. Documented, undocumented, from various nationalities, they're good for this country and we need them. So we got to turn that lie around.
Where is this coming from? I mean, why the attack on the immigrants in this country? They built the United States, yet they're being scapegoated?
Well, it's coming from Trump. It's coming from racism. It's used to build up his base because attacking a population that isn't necessarily going to speak up loudly for itself is an easy. It's an easy mark for him. But also, it takes away attention from the fact that it's people like him who made jobs go away from the United States, not immigrants, right? If anybody wants to be mad about jobs disappearing, they should look at Trump and his buddies. But this game he's playing turns the attention away from them.
And the situation of immigrant workers in San Francisco and the hotels and the restaurants, is this going to create a backlash of anger among immigrants and all workers in San Francisco and around the country?
Well, I think so. I think immigrants and workers around the country are generally against Trump to begin with. There may be some pockets in the Midwest where I'm not sure that's true, but around here it's clearly true, and this is just going to spur it on. So, yes.
And what do you think the union should do about it? I know you have a contingent here of Unite HRE, but there are other unions, hundreds of thousands of workers. Do you think they should be more organized in mobilizing?
Absolutely. It's very important that labor steps up and becomes part of this movement and doesn't see it as an us versus them thing. It's all us. It's all us, right? And labor is strongest when we involve everybody, include everybody, not when we say, oh, it's just for our members. That's when we get weak.
And immigrants built San Francisco. They built America.
They built America. They built everything. And boy, we forgot that fast, didn't we?
Definite, yes. I'm with Liuna Laborers Local 710.
What do you think about what's happening with Trump and the attack on immigrants, the DACA?
I think we all need to work together. And we're all one. We're all in this together. We need to work together arm in arm.
Maria.
Okay. And you're here with your daughter?
I am. My daughter, Camila.
And what does this day mean for you and the people here?
I think today is a really, it's a really bad day. Trump made a really bad decision in reversing DACA. We're here to support undocumented families. We're here to support the unification of undocumented families, and we're here to support DACA. Every day that undocumented families don't have a path to legalization, they're living with fear. And that's why, DACA is a step forward, but it's not the solution. And we got to make sure that Congress passes and creates a path for legalization for all working families in this country. My family built this country. My parents were undocumented. My daughter's 5th generation Irish and 2nd generation Mexican. And we made this country great, and we deserve to be here, regardless of whether we have papers or not. And this is why we're here, because my parents were giving an opportunity to have a path to legalization, live in this country, and work without fear of deportation.
This is a country that's built on immigration.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Suzanne. I am an Oakland resident, and I think this country was built on immigration, and ending DACA is cruel. It's not a good policy, and I'm just really fed up with the Trump administration and their policies that just seem to target the most vulnerable people in society. So,
and where is it coming from? Why this big attack on immigrants in this country?
I mean, I wish I knew. To me, I feel like this is a country that's built on immigration. Everybody here that's here, except for, the very earliest Americans, come from immigrants. And, from a economic perspective, you see that there are huge repercussions if DACA is repealed. There's a lot of economic value that immigrants provide. But above all that, it's a moral issue, and that's why I'm here.
I'm Parsa. We are Swana Alliance. We are a group of Southwest
Asian North African.
Southwest Asian North African. So African folks, basically the decolonized term for Middle Eastern, because Middle East is in relation to London as so as a colonizer. We're here to support our immigrants, our immigrant communities, and protest against the Trump administration.
Are you surprised about this country? I mean, it's built by immigrants, it's full of immigrants, and yet immigrants are being blamed for the economic problems and everything else that's going on.
This is very disturbing, but also at the same time, I think, like looking at the history, like this is not very surprising because we've had a history of excluding immigrants. We've had a history of excluding people of color, black people, Latinos, and also like Asian people. Like we've had the Chinese Exclusion Act.
There's a history of white supremacy in this country, and it's just highlighted now more than ever. And white supremacists feel safe and free to come, and it just further white supremacists like bullshit basically. And so we're here to protest against that.
What's done is going to create a backlash. More and more people standing up and saying enough is enough.
Yes, I do think so. I think that's what we see here today, and I think it's going to continue. Because the people are organizing, we are organized, we are together, and we are not standing for this.
Take a video of it.
I'm Alex Yuen, and I'm here because DACA being rescinded is not okay. We have too many families that will be affected and too many downstream families that are already affected. We always think of this bill as being about children, but it's not. They have grown up and they have started their own families, and they've trusted the United States to take that risk, to stay here and create a life for themselves. And now, what are we gonna do? Just disrupt it? It is not okay. It is not okay.
And you think his action is going to create a backlash?
Absolutely, absolutely. You do this, what do you do with H-1B visas? Do we take them away from people who are actually coming in from other countries and give them to our kids and our folks that have already made a life here? And then we don't allow anybody else to come in. We give them the H-1B visas. What do we do? And this is what I'm saying, like it starts an avalanche that is not going to be stopped. So it is up to the Congress to do their business and to do it right.
Are you shocked about the scapegoating, the attack on immigrants in this country who built this country?
Absolutely. And it's not just new. I mean, if you just break it down with the slaves, you break it down with our Japanese brothers and sisters that were interned. You break it down to our native brothers and sisters whose land we are on every single day, their families were disrupted. It is a common thread that has happened throughout our history, and it needs to be changed and stopped now. And if we don't stop it now, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will be saying the same thing as being advocates for human rights. And that's what it comes down to. Being human.
And this system, it seems, is using immigrant workers, exploiting them and then blaming them. I mean, a lot of them were forced to come here by NAFTA. I mean, these trade agreements force people to come here. The wars, Central America, around the world, force people to come here, and then they get blamed.
Absolutely. Yes, and that's the whole thing. It's that blame game, right? Just like you said. It's like we have to blame something for our mistakes. And it goes on and on and on. This is not going to stop. If we have to do something drastic, like everybody stop paying their taxes, everybody stop, buying at certain places, everybody stays home from work.
How about a general strike?
And general strike, exactly. Everybody takes a general strike, right? When people take action that affect the dollar, then we hear holla and people come.
We need to move back for just a minute.
When people will, sorry, I got disrupted, but when we affect the dollar, then people holla.
I totally disagree with DACA being, removed. I mean, it's ridiculous. These children came not out of their own choice. Their parents came over for a better life, and of course they brought their babies. And now to just kick them out, some of them don't even speak Spanish anymore. They don't know nothing about their country unless they were lucky enough to go back and forth, which they weren't because, their parents aren't going to go back and forth if they didn't have papers. My parents came from there, but my parents have been here My father would be over 100 years old. My mother would be over 100 years old. I'm 70 years old. And they had me late. I mean, even their parents. They were here before California belonged to the United States. Don't get me into the history.
I mean, this idea that people are immigrants when their families, this used to be an immigrants community.
Yeah.
This is a Latino nation.
Yeah, you're gonna break up families like that, I don't.
You think it's going to create a backlash in this country against Trump and against the government?
It's been happening before Trump, but Trump crystallized it.
Next, my comrade Sharif.
That came out of the Trump administration. This is continued war on our communities. This is a continued attack on queer communities, on immigrant communities, on working class communities, on communities of color. First, the Trump administration went after the indigenous people and the water protectors in North Dakota. Then they were targeting the Mexican peoples through border walls. The same type of border walls that runs through here are the same ones built in Palestine. They also went after Muslim immigrants with the ban. And then they continued to attack black and brown communities with increased policing. There's also been attacks on trans people and now an attacks on Dreamers and DACA. The wars in our homelands are becoming more intensified, and the Trump administration has been talking about nuclear war with North Korea. So we recognize that these actions today are ongoing attacks on all of our communities, on each and every one of us. And we know that DACA was never enough, but it gave at least some families stability, and it gave us some dignity to be able to continue living our lives the way we should be. But to remove DACA doesn't only impact those who are under it, it impacts all immigrant communities. The same type of immigration policies mirror the same things that we see under occupation in our homelands. Why do we hate people like Arpaio or Trump? Because they represent things like checkpoints, movement control, all of the oppressive things that they've continued to try to put on our communities. So you cannot delink what's happening abroad to what's also happening here. The same border wall built through Zionist agendas also building walls here and creating the same policies against our people. And to all of the Muslims, working class, and those under DACA, it also means thinking about whether names and information could be turned over to Muslim registries, programs, or ISIS deportation program. We need to talk about how to continue to support families instead of becoming pawns in the name of national security. And this is not, and I repeat, this is not a country of immigrants. It has a long history of systemic repression and oppression against people, built on the genocide of indigenous peoples and built off the backs of slaves. But at the same time, we've had a history of resistance, and we are continuing that history of resistance here today in San Francisco. State terror. And although some of us as Muslims and Arabs are dreamers, today in this fight, we are all dreamers. We are on a quest for dignified, self-determined communities. Our resistance and our liberation is tied. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. Say it with me, an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. So we will continue to push back on the fascists, like we did recently here in San Francisco, like we did in Berkeley. We will say no to fascism, no to imperialism, and no to white supremacy. Long live international solidarity, y'all. Thank you.
No bond,
no wall, sanctuary for all.
no ban, no wall,
Sanctuary for all.
no ban, no wall,
Sanctuary for all.
no ban,
No wall.
sanctuary for all.
No ban. No wall. Sanctuary for all. No ban. No wall. Sanctuary for all. No ban. No wall.
Sanctuary for all. No ban, no wall. Sanctuary for all. No ban, no wall. Sanctuary for all.
No ban. No wall. Sanctuary for all.
The immigrant rights movement. Akiko from Aspire. Undocumented! what this freedom in America actually looked like. That dream, that American dream that they promised, that vision that was a lie taken away so fast in an instant. We know that DACA was only temporary, but the way this went through, the way we are here right now, is not morally correct. And you know what? The way we talk about DACA should not be centered around meritocracy. We have to talk about DACA within our humanity. It doesn't matter that in my day job I'm a nurse. That shouldn't be why it's allowed for me to stay. I should be allowed to stay because I'm your friend. I'm your sister. I'm your daughter. I am one of you fighting for justice for everyone. For all of us to just live in a life where we can all be free. Because my God, we are so tired for always fighting and fighting and fighting. When does this all stop? And you know what? These tears, they're not because I'm sad. No. We're done with sad. We're fucking angry. And that is why we are all here. These 6 months, let's show them hell. Let's show them that they chose the wrong people to mess with. But we also must be vigilant in how we phrase our fight for immigration reform, because it's not just about undocumented youth. It's not just about DACA. It is not just about the 12 million undocumented immigrants. It's about all of us, of all the people that he has oppressed. In this past, how many months has it been? 8 months, and it feels like fucking 8 years. How can he ruin so many lives in such a short amount of time? We are all in this together, and we must fight together. We cannot settle for anything less than what we want. We cannot settle for just the legalization of DACA. We must continue to fight. Undocumented! 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 Undocumented!
Families are still with us. And as immigrants, we've known that have been involved in this fight. We've known that the fight for our dignity and rights go beyond DACA. We actually knew that DACA was never the dream for our communities. It was always a temporary fix. And the state, Obama's administration created DACA to keep us away from bold tactics. It was a concession that was put in place to keep us away from organizing fiercely for everyone. But that's not what happened. We continue to fight and say not one more. We continue to organize against the deportations of everyone who's criminalized. We, across the country, defeated programs like secure communities, quote unquote. We, across the country, fought and changed the narrative that says that we're disposable. Last year, when Trump won, Joe Arpaio also was defeated out of office. All of those are victories of our communities.
La Translatina is a trans organization, but we are not here to talk about trans, and we are not here to talk about our rights, because we are already tired of talking about that. We are here to talk about our dreams that are being taken away from us. So I'm a trans person, and I've been fighting so bad for so many years about my rights, about if I'm right, if I'm wrong, religion, anything. But now it's so hard for me, and it's heartbreaking that I was in City College this morning trying to finish my career, trying to reach my goals, trying to just dream. and finish everything that I started since the first day I got here. I didn't choose to come here whenever I was 7 years old. My mom chose that for me, and I appreciate it because she has done anything and everything for me, as many of you guys. So I'm sorry, it's just that so sad that right now just a person who doesn't think, who doesn't understand, and who doesn't give a that is gonna take that away from us. So I'm just here to let you know, just stand strong. Do not let Trump take those dreams from us. Let's just stay like the first time whenever DACA came, 2012, it was like a dream for us. And now we just like wake up from a nightmare. So just don't let that stop us from doing and believing in ourselves. So for all my Latinos, I'm just gonna say this. Latinos unidos jamás serán vencidos. Latinos unidos jamás serán vencidos. Education is a right that we all have. So let's stay America. Thank you.
I want to offer a song to students, para los estudiantes, but knowing that this is not a fight for students, it's a fight for all of us. It's a fight for the community. It's a fight for our humanity. Because before I am a daughter, before I am a girlfriend, before I am Mexican, before I am this, before I am that, before I am a student, I am a human being. And we will not allow anyone else to define our humanity. We are humans before we are anything else. So this one goes out to students, but with everyone in mind, to the resilience of every single one of you, to every person here who is not an immigrant, first generation immigrant perhaps, and who may not need to be here, and you are still here. These are the people that I want to say thank you. Thank you, because you could be anywhere else, but you decided to be our allies, and thank you. This one also goes out to you. And this one is by Violeta Parra, una guerrera de Chile. Que vivan los estudiantes, jardín de nuestra alegría. Son aves que no se asustan de animal ni policía. Y no le asustan las balas ni el ladrar de la jauría. Caramba y zamba la cosa, que viva la astronomía. Me gustan los estudiantes que rugen como los vientos cuando le meten al oído sus balas y regimientos. Pajarillos libertarios igual que los elementos. Caramba y zamba la cosa, que viva lo experimento. Me gustan los estudiantes porque levantan el pecho cuando les dicen harina, sabiéndose que es afrecho, y no se hacen los sordomudos cuando se presenta el hecho. Caramba y zamba la cosa, el código del derecho. Me gustan los estudiantes porque son la levadura del pan que saldrá del horno con toda su sabrosura. Para la boca del pobre que come con amargura. Caramba y zamba la cosa, viva la literatura. Que vivan los estudiantes, jardín de nuestra alegría. Son aves que no se asustan de animal ni policía. Y no le asustan las balas ni el ladrar de la jauría. Caramba y zamba la cosa, que viva la astronomía. Caramba y zamba la cosa, que viva la astronomía. Caramba y zamba la cosa, que viva la gente latina.
Jeff Adachi, public defender.
Now, Jeff, this is a dramatic day today for millions, really, not just the 800,000, but their families and everything else. What does that mean to the American people? What does it mean to you?
Well, it means that the only way that we're going to stop this is by organizing. Obviously, the president's not going to listen. We can't rely on Congress for these reforms. And if we want to see real reform, people have got to stand up. And that's what we're doing here. My office, we have an immigration unit now, and we're providing direct representation to people in courts in immigration cases. There are over 500,000 people who are in custody awaiting deportation proceedings in this country, 500,000 people. Most of those people don't have lawyers. So we need to make sure that we're prepared for what is going to happen.
What does it say about this country that you have a government that is blaming the immigrants for the economic problem, the social problem in this country?
This is all part of a long history. If you look at what's happened in this country from its very beginning, you have racist immigration policy and the scapegoating, whether it was the annihilation of Native Americans, enslavement of blacks, and you go on and on. The Bracero program, this country has a history of racist immigration policies, and this is really no different.
And you think there's going to be a backlash in this country? I mean, it seems like Trump is uniting a lot of people.
This is the backlash, and this backlash is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
The young people that you're dealing with in your office, I mean, are they it seems like they're terrorizing the young people. They're just creating a fear.
They are, but a lot of people are coming forward. We've had volunteers come out of the woodworks to help with this fight. So people are getting energized.
So you're optimistic?
Oh yeah, of course. We need this.
Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. 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 Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear.